You always have to go into creating art with the idea and just the knowledge of knowing that you may not like what you do. You may fuck up. You may uh, do a little oopsie, and you have to know how to fix it. Um, if it needs, if it's on a person, not everybody's perfect. In a tattoo sense, like if you fuck up in a tattoo, the best tattooers know how to fix their errors. So I think that's really important. But in the sense of making art, you just have to go into making art. The first step of making art is starting. So you have to start with almost of a mentality of, I'm going to finish this thing, even if I ruin what I wanted to do.
Welcome to Therapy for the World, an interview series exploring the personal stories of people working across the spectrum of self-care and world care. I'm Dan Sikorsky, a writing teacher and therapist, and the other voice you hear is Bianca Felicia Maria. Bianca is a tattoo artist whose work blends technical skill, artistic vision, and storytelling. Besides her degree in visual communication and design, she's been in the tattoo world since 2019. About her tattooing philosophy, she says, "Tattooing is more than ink and imagery. It's a way to connect, to heal, and to transform both myself and those who trust me with their stories." In this conversation, Bianca reflects on her early life, including how losing her father to suicide at 17 shaped her path as an artist. She remembers selling and trading her art pieces as a girl, as well as her first gigs photographing weddings as a teenager. We talk about her own first tattoo of a semicolon, and what that symbol means to her now as she continues her annual offering of free semicolon tattoos for suicide awareness. She also goes into the thorough process of research, consultation, and design that goes into each tattoo, as well as the bond that is developed with each person in the tattoo chair. We recorded this on Sunday, August 31st, 2025 at 4 in the afternoon. Here's our conversation. I'd love to start off by asking you about your early life and if there's anything there in those earliest years that you can point to as important for shaping the person you've become.
Well, I would like to talk about my dad. And I was 17 when he had passed. I know that's not like super early, but that was probably the most like defying part of my life. I lost my father to suicide. And it rocked my world. I'm sorry. I don't really talk about it often.
Take all the time you need.
Thank you. I really haven't talked about how this has shaped my life, like verbally talked about it. I've only ever written stories about it or like typed it out. I've never really like talked about it. I don't really remember a lot of growing up because of this happening, which kind of sucks. I think my earliest memory of being an artist was when I was living in my dad's house on Mayfield Road, and in the basement there was this desk, and I painted it neon green and black. And I remember there was this book that I had. It was I believe it was a Precious Moments religious Bible, like a childlike Bible that had images of precious moments, and I would trace them and I would sell them to my dad as like pieces of art. And I remember doing that a lot as a kid and really just making bracelets and um yeah, making bracelets was one of those things, like the string bracelets that you tie and the camp keychains. Those were a lot of fun to make too when I was a little kid. Yeah, those are like my earliest memories of starting being an artist. There was really no rules to anything. Like when I painted my desk neon green and jet black, like I could just do what I wanted to do. And I was able to make like a little art studio in the basement. And I had posters of like Justin Bieber hanging up and like the Jonas Brothers. And yeah, that was awesome. Like I was able to have a creative space for myself to be able to do the things that I want that didn't matter. I could just create. It didn't have to look good. It could just be a thing. And I feel like that was the start of where I found my creative outlet. And that eventually transformed when moved. We ended up moving in with my grandparents when I was probably, I want to say 8 years old, maybe younger. And my brother had uh, a flip phone, and my brother and I would be playing in the garage, and we go around the garage at my grandparents' house and take pictures off of the flip phone. And I thought it was really cool that you could like take pictures on a phone. Um, and then that ended up developing into I became a photographer. And then when I was in 8th grade, I ended up getting my first paid wedding, which was awesome. Like, who on earth would allow an 8th grader to photograph a wedding? Like, that's such an important moment, an important day. Like, that was a lot of pressure, but I still did it. I think all of those things like really started the artist in me. Like, I was able to find joy and happiness in creating and uh, photographing moments and even making bracelets and drawing the precious moments, tracing the precious moments. Because now, fast forward in my life, it's still all of those things are still present. Um, Now in my career, tattooing, I still take pictures of my tattoos. Um, I make tattoos, I draw, I trace, I um, take things from people's brains and I make it into something. And I feel like uh, all those things that I did when I was a kid have really made me become, or I guess I've just always been an artist. I remember asking for like those travel briefcases that had all of the crayons and all the markers and things like that for Christmas and like big drawing pads. Like those were always my favorite kind of gifts to get when I was a little kid. Anything that I was able to like express myself with was, you know, something that I felt I needed. I wanted to scribble on paper. I wanted to ruin things, you know. My brother and I would actually build um, houses for our cats out of just like cardboard boxes. And it was Lola's palace or Lucky's home, you know, like I feel like I've always been an artist. Even when I was little, I always had a creative endeavor.
It sounds like a constant in all those projects,
Yeah.
starting with with those that went on your neon green desk,
Yeah.
was that you would give them away. It sounded like you said you traded them or you sold them. Uh,
Yeah. I would give the bracelets away, but I definitely always had like an entrepreneurial bone in my body. So any way that I could figure out how to make money, I would do it. So I would just sell my art. to my dad or to my friends. Like that's all I've always wanted to do. Especially with like wedding photography or photography in general. Like I always thought that was like a really creative outlet for me to be able to show like emotion and um, honestly just like what I was thinking about, but not with like saying it, more like taking a picture of somebody doing something. Does that make sense? You know, like I could put what I'm feeling, thinking, and here into a photo, and then that be that. Does that make any sense?
It does. And the part that I'm sort of sticking with is that you wouldn't keep it, you know. It seems like none of your art, besides like pictures you might take of tattoos or memories of the bracelets, they all kind of remain later with the client or with the friend or whoever it might be.
Hmm.
Uh, wedding pictures are never just the photographers, they become the families. And
Hmm.
tattoos,
Yeah,
you 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 might not see your
I'll
tattoo
never see it
again.
again. Yeah, and honestly, that's kind of like I'm okay with that because it I feel like it's meant for that person. I'm just here to provide a service and to create the thing, but at the end of the day, nobody belongs to me. I belong to me, and that's why I choose to decorate myself with what I want. But I give everybody what they want. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I want to take a step back, while staying on the same path. Take a step back and remember when you chose to dedicate yourself to tattoos. You had started studying pretty conventionally, getting a 4-year degree, and sort of there was something in you that kept saying, I want to do something, I want to do tattoos. What were you studying? Why did this urge to create tattoos sort of overpower you?
Well, in the beginning of everything, had originally started going to college for nonprofit administrations. And my whole goal was to start a nonprofit for families who had been affected by suicide. And that was something that was really important that I worked to figure out how I could do that. But while I was in school, I was working for a nonprofit. And while that was fine and great, it really wasn't fulfilling me in a way where um, I didn't feel like I was doing anything or earning anything. I really felt like I was just going around asking people for money and then giving it to the nonprofit. I like there was no soul in it. So after I had realized that this is not going to work out for me, and ended up transferring schools, changing programs, and I ended up getting a graphic design degree. So it's technically a communications degree through Kent State. But the whole time I did that, I was already working in my apprenticeship. I think from like really by the time that I got accepted into the new college, so Kent, um, I had just gotten my apprenticeship. So I had to at least dedicate some time into my apprenticeship before I was even allowed to start tattooing. So I always like had this idea in the back of my head that I was going to tattoo despite having to get a degree in something. I just knew that my degree, I wasn't going to use my degree. But I finished out my degree. I like to say that I did it for my mom, but I really did it for myself to prove that I could do it. But
And
yeah,
why tattoo? Why tattooing? Where did that come from? That urge.
when I was, this is so funny. When I was a little kid, I remember being in, oh my gosh, like when I was a little kid, I remember being in the grocery cart with my mom And we were shopping around the store and we walked past. I don't even want to say that they were heavily tattooed. They just had tattoos. Um, some people that had tattoos, and she would look at me and put her finger in my face and say, "Don't you ever think about it." And from that moment forward, I just thought about it every day. And I was like, yeah, that's gonna happen. That'll be me. I know that's gonna be me. I want to be that. I think that's cool. Because those people, in my opinion, were fully expressing themselves to their fullest potential. Like that's like 100% commitment to yourself. Once you put something on your body, you're now reclaiming or claiming your own identity. Um, so that's why tattooing, because my mom told me no when I was little. I just always thought about it. I think it's beautiful. I think people that wear tattoos are beautiful. I think um, being able to decorate yourself is something like it's really powerful. And wearing really, honestly, any tattoo is a very powerful thing because it can mean it could mean something and it or it couldn't or it doesn't have to, like you could just think it's cool. It's a form of expression.
Your desire to be heavily tattooed came earlier in time than your first tattoo. Uh,
Yeah.
and you chose as your first tattoo a semicolon. Where did that idea come from for you? Was it part of a culture of semicolons, or how did you decide, okay, this is going to be here? I'm starting off with this.
Yeah. So when I lost my dad, that was really difficult for me. Um and it was right before my 18th birthday that he had passed. So I was feeling down. And the only thing that I could think about doing for my birthday was going to get a tattoo for my dad. And I decided to get, oh my goodness. I decided to get a semicolon tattoo as a promise to myself and to my dad and to my family that I wouldn't give up on myself and that I would choose to help myself when things got rough or if I felt not okay, is that I would just seek help. But I knew for myself that it was really important that I got a semicolon as my first tattoo because it means that your story isn't over yet. And I was 17 when my dad had passed, and I felt like my whole world was over, but my world didn't even really start at that point. Like I was so young. So I just knew that I didn't want to give up. So it was my promise that I wouldn't.
What was your second tattoo?
I actually got two in one day, so it was the same day. I also got on my rib cage, it says, "You are my dolly." And that was what my dad would call me. And it has his little like smiley face with the mustache that he drew. But yeah, my whole family calls me Dolly. It's just a cute, endearing thing that they would say to me, but my dad was the one that really started it. But yeah, that was it. And then I went crazy.
How do you decide what tattoos to go crazy with? Well, I'm sure we'll talk about others that you tattoo, but I'm curious about you and your body as canvas first. How do you decide which you put on your body, how you express yourself?
Well, now since I'm so heavily tattooed, I just get what fits and what looks cool. But before when I like first started getting tattooed, I would get tattoos that had meaning to me. I have a tattoo on my hip. That is a woman taking a mask off of her face. I got that tattoo. I want to say I was also 18 when I got it. That was right around the time. that I received a scholarship from a nonprofit called Quell. And the Quell Foundation is a nonprofit that helps families that have been affected by suicide, or survivors of suicide, rather. And they help me with college stuff. So uh, one of the things that they were talking about in their nonprofit is that we want to lift the mask of the stigma that surrounds mental health. So I got a lady taking her mask off for that reason. Um, and then down the road, I have my grandparents tattooed on me. This is my grandpa. Sorry, it's upside down. But my grandparents were such an amazing part of growing up, and having them was just a blessing. I'm so thankful that I had them when I did have them. But now it's really just what looks cool and what fits. I like things that look cool. Dragons are cool, you know. Um, I have a lot of ladies tattooed on me, so I typically pick a lady. But it kind of just depends on what I'm feeling. I'm about to get my fingers tattooed. I don't know what they're gonna look like, but I know that they will be fully covered and black.
A- And why do you know that you want to get your fingers tattooed before you know what you want to put on them?
Um, that's a really good question. I see getting my hands tattooed as when I got my palms done, that was my way of um that was my way of like knowing that I'm gonna continue to create and learn and uh give my time to tattooing all the time that I have.
Because your
Yeah.
palms have a spiral on them.
Yes, yes. So for my fingers, I want to wear the tattoo as armor. Um, I want my hands are what I use to create. So I want my hands to be strong. I want them to be bold. I want them to look tough. I want people to see that and be like, "Wow, she's in it. She wants this. Like this is something that she cares about." Um, I think it's a really bold statement to wear something so visible. It's almost like a protector. Um, I would say that I know that I want to get them because I know that they will protect me in a way that, like, I don't want to say like protect me from people, but just protect me from things. Uh, maybe protect me from people. Maybe keep people away that don't really, jive with it, and that's
Ar
okay.
Armor's a really powerful word. I feel like I
Yeah.
understand your thinking a lot more
Hmm.
when I hear that word, armor, protection. You
Hmm.
you have said that get tattoos and tattooing saved your life. And
Yes.
that's quoted. I I think it's a really powerful way of expressing the influence that tattooing has had on you. Uh, how do you understand that phrase? Why do you say that it saved your life?
It Tattooing saved my life because I wouldn't be here without it. I was able to find myself by getting heavily tattooed. I feel like I am my most confident self because I am so heavily tattooed. I want people to know how heavily tattooed I am. Like I want people to know how cool I am. um But yeah, it truly saved my life, not just because I was getting tattooed, but all the people that it's brought me. Tattooing has given me everything in my life and more. Um, it's given me my relationship. It's given me the house I live in. It's given me literally everything, like everything that I could have asked for, the car I drive, my skin, the place I work. Like without it, I I really don't know where I would be. I've never pictured myself doing anything else. When I was a little kid, my mom would encourage me to become a masseuse or a doctor or just something, a therapist even. But none of those things like felt like they were me. But tattooing is, and I feel like I've been able to figure out who I am as a person. Um, and that helps me like care for other people because I've been able to take care of myself in this way.
That's the word I wanted to talk about now.
Yeah.
Care. You've told me that tattooing is a form of caring. There was once a time where the series was actually going to be called People Who Care, um,
Hell
which
yeah.
I think is in opposition to people who don't care. It's a possible name for something in the future, in any case, the word care is really important. Um, People who give a damn is another way of saying that, right? Not just
Mm.
who protect and who heal, but also who who things matter to, instead
Hmm.
of existing in a certain indifference. Um, I'd love to talk about how you see tattooing as care for the people you work with. I understand how it's been that for you,
Hmm.
but you seem to extend that also to others.
Absolutely. Um, well, I mean, it really, where do I even start with that? Every client that sits in my chair, I really try my best to care about what they're getting tattooed. I try to care about what's going on in their lives. I try to care. I'm sorry about the plane. The doors are open. It's a nice, beautiful day here. um, I I feel like I put a lot of effort into the person that I'm working with. Um, Trying to give them obviously the best tattoo that I physically can. And just being a friend at that too, because not everybody gets tattooed to look like me or, you know, to be heavily tattooed. Some people get tattooed to have a friend or to talk about what they're feeling inside, or, um, some people just really do it for like a therapy, an emotional therapy session, you know, because people get tattooed for types of all different kinds of reasons. Like some people, there are people that will get tattooed because they had a miscarriage or they're celebrating a birthday or somebody had just passed away or their mom's not doing well, so everybody in the family's getting a tattoo together, like to match. It kind of just depends on the day and the person, and I think it's really important to care about people in that way because it's more than just putting a permanent image on somebody. Because now, since it is permanent, I am now with them for the rest of their lives, and I think it's really important that there is care involved through the whole process, even booking the appointment, because people deserve it, and I feel like a lot of the times people view tattooing as like this big tough guy thing, when in some cases it can be, but in other cases, in your everyday cases, it's not normally like a tough guy situation. Like people need to feel like they're welcome. People need to feel like they belong. And that's always been something that I wanted to help people with, is to feel like they belong somewhere, that they matter, that their ideas are brilliant, even if they're not, but they are. I try my best.
You seem to get a lot of people in your chair who know what they want and where they want it. What's it like with the person who is a little bit more unsure about either the design or the location, what questions and what conversation occurs there to see what they want and need?
Well, I always try to give people exactly what they want. When they don't know what they want, I try my best to provide options of what I think will look best or will look cool. But in the grand scheme of everything, it starts with a connection. We have to have a connection. We have to be able to have a conversation with each other um, before I make any permanent thing on your body, because you will be wearing it for the rest of your life. Um, and I don't want anybody going around years from now being like, fuck Bianca, she ruined my body. I look like shit, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't want anybody to feel like that. So I always try to take steps prior to the tattoo experience that sometimes I'll ask, well, the conversation will be led almost by the other person. And I'm just kind of open arms, open ears to anyone and everyone. I really have not a judgment bone in my body. Um, so when they come in with an idea or lack thereof, I sometimes I'd even have to be like, I don't even think you know what you want yet, and you need to take some time to think about it, because I can't make decisions for other people. Other people have to make them for themselves. So I don't want anybody making any quick decisions. Sometimes I even make people go home and like think about what exactly that they want, because I'm not going to ruin their skin today. Um, and that's sometimes upsetting to people because they want to get tattooed. But I think from an artistic standpoint, like you can't, if vibes are off or the communication isn't there, like you can't jump into something super permanent like that with somebody that you don't trust or there isn't any guidance. So sometimes I send people home with homework, like looking on Pinterest or doing some research and like finding what they like, and then I have them bring that stuff to me, and then I draw what they like or draw what they want tattooed, and if they like it, cool, we'll tattoo it, we'll run it. And if they don't, we'll sit and we'll talk about what they want changed or how does this look. And typically, for every appointment, I try my best to have at least some sort of like color study or shading study of the full design ready to go for them, so that they know, like, when it comes time to getting the tattoo, this is exactly what it's going to look like, kind of, sort of. They're a little rough sometimes, but it'll look better when I tattoo it, I promise. Um, but yeah, most of the time, I have all the stuff ready to go. I have your answers right here. I have what colors I'm going to use. I'll show you. If you don't like a color, I'll show you what your other options are. Like it's it the act of tattooing it definitely takes two to tango. If you can't work with one another, it's very difficult and probably shouldn't happen.
Sounds like you do a lot of work besides or beyond on top of the work that goes on in the chair itself when the client's there with you. Uh,
Yes.
you do some research also behind the scenes, often with
Yep.
tattoos. What does that process look like?
Well, it depends on what I am tattooing. I actually have to tattoo in maybe 2 weeks, Saint Michael, who I believe is, I don't want to say this wrong, but I believe he's like a guardian angel, like he's a protector guardian angel. Typically, like firemen and cops are more drawn to religious imagery like that, and an American flag waving in the background. But yeah, I don't know a lot of religious imagery and what it means, and so, like, you have to draw it a certain way, so I always have to go into, like, do a little research before I start drawing, because if I draw it and it's wrong, then it's going to be tattooed incorrectly on the skin, and that then somebody walking down the street that actually knows about that is going to be like, what the heck is this on your arm? Like, that looks not like how it should. Like, oops. So I always try to avoid that. Or even if it's as simple as getting your birth flowers tattooed. Like moms like to get their kids' birth flowers tattooed on them. So that takes a lot of research too, is going on Google and finding what months equal what flower, because there's always multiple different flowers for each month. So then I would have to go and talk to my client. Well, do you want this flower or that flower? What day were they born? Because it is with the day, and um, just stuff like that. So really taking the extra time to like figure out all the nooks and crannies of every design that I draw or come up with for my clients. I want to do it right, and it all starts with the beginning of it. And then once I have all that information, I draw and do my color study, and then they'll come in for their appointment, and I'll show them the drawing and color study, and we'll print the line drawing to size and get it sized up and see if they like it and then go from there. But it
Uh,
really takes a lot.
I see that. I have almost like an appreciation for how seriously you take it. It sounds like to me.
Even if somebody gets something tattooed in another language, I'm like, are you sure you want me to do this? I only speak English. I only know English. And they're just like, yeah, it's fine, it's fine. I'm like, okay, but just so you know, if this is wrong, it's on you. But I trust you enough that you're giving me the right information. Or even if they're getting like lettering in English, like I make them double, triple, quadruple check, because God forbid if I spell something wrong, it's now forever on your body. I don't want to do that, but I'm kind of silly with it.
Is there ever something you won't tattoo or something that you'll discourage?
Any sort of hate symbols, like a swastika, a Confederate flag. People don't really ask for that kind of stuff anymore, though, which is thank you, thank you, thank you. Like that, I do not want to be tattooing any sort of hate speech. I am I'm a girl's girl. I'm a people person. I want everybody to feel loved when they're in my presence. I'm never going to be anti people. I want everybody to feel welcome, but I definitely will not do any sort of like hate symbol.
I'm thinking about a couple different things here. What is your pitch for getting a tattoo? Why should someone get one? Should everyone get one?
I honestly don't believe everybody should get tattooed. Um, I believe everybody deserves a right to feel themselves in their bodies. But I don't believe that everybody should get a tattoo, because not everybody is equipped to have that lifetime commitment to something. Um, you see a lot of it happening now, like Pete Davidson, for an example. He got all of his tattoos laser removed, just recently, and he had almost like his full front and arms, I believe, covered in tattoos, and now he wants to have a clean aesthetic. So now he went through a whole removal process. And I think in one on one side of it, that's fine, do what you want, I don't care. But um I also just I don't think you should get tattooed if you're gonna get it removed. And like you when you make up your mind to get a tattoo, it's it's permanent. That should be in the front of your brain. Your artist should be telling you, hey, this is forever. um it's like when people want to get like little scribbles tattooed on them or something. Like I always want to be like, are you sure this is forever? I don't want you to hate me in a couple years from now, like that I ruined your body, because that's what people say. They blame it on the tattoo artist. They don't blame it on themselves. So if you're not able to have that, I'm fully dedicated to this thing. I'm fully committed to this thing, then I wouldn't. And that's okay.
When we were
Um,
talking when we were talking earlier about your earliest artistic experiences, you said that among other things, one one thing you like to do was to ruin things. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you were referring to, but you used the word ruin positively then. And now it's coming up as a something to avoid potentially.
Yeah. Yes.
How are both of those things coexisting?
I would say that ruining something, like you always have to go into creating art with the idea and the just the knowledge of knowing that you may not like what you do. You may fuck up. You may uh do a little oopsie and you have to know how to fix it. Um if it needs if it's on a person, you know. Not everybody's perfect in a tattoo sense. Like if you fuck up in a tattoo, the best tattooers know how to fix their errors, you know. So I think that's really important. But in the sense of making art, you just have to go into making art. The first step of making art is starting. So you have to start with almost of a mentality of I'm gonna finish this thing, even if I ruin what I wanted to do. So that's what I mean in like the positive way of ruining something. Because you can I don't even think ruining things is necessarily a bad thing. Unless it's on somebody's body, then maybe. But just like in an artistic standpoint, like from a painter's perspective, I have to make the painting to make the piece of art. I might ruin it along the way, and that's okay.
Even when making a painting, you're ruining a white canvas, right?
Exactly.
I see the sense in which you're using it. It's almost like taking a creative risk on something that has a form already, whether it's a white canvas or a piece of cardboard box that is a cardboard box ready, but you want to create something new from it. You're ruining its current form, I could
Yes.
say, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that also goes with like people's bodies too. I feel like a lot of the older generation thinks people who do put tattoos on their body ruin their body. And okay, cool, that's fine. You don't. It's I feel like that's just you claiming who you are.
You were talking about those people in in the supermarket who you felt uh, you felt in awe of them because they were expressing themselves. Another thing that's often said about tattoos is the question of whether this expression today will be the same expression tomorrow. When people want to express something today,
Yeah.
how are they to be sure that that's the thing they're going to want to express 10 years from now, 20 years from now?
Um, well, the fun thing about life is that you don't know. And you kind of have to be okay with the unknown. And I mean, I personally have grown and changed a lot since I first started getting tattoos. Like I have a whole second layer started on my arm now, and my leg as well, from tattoos that I decided to get when I was in my early teens. And then now as I'm slowly approaching my 30s, I'm like, oh, I don't really want to wear that stuff anymore. And what can I do to change? And one of the ways that I found for myself is to do plastovers. And I think now, like now, I'm sure this is what I want, and now I have an idea of what I want to look like when I'm 40 or when I'm 50 and when I'm 60. Like I know exactly how I want to look. So I try to encourage all of my clients that I do tattoo to think about those things because it's important. Um, I always give them the okay, close your eyes, think about this tattoo on your body. Where do you see it? And then think about 40 years from now, how else do you look? Because I want to plan for the future. And those are things that you have to have those conversations with your tattoo artist because if you don't, then you might put yourself in a really terrible situation where you do end up getting a tattoo that you don't like or that you're not going to resonate with um, down the road. Or I mean, even like asking your artist, like, what are my options down the road? Like, how can I make this? What can we do to this to make it a sleeve or make it look really cool, or how can we add to it even? So knowing those things and having those conversations are incredibly important.
I feel like tattoos, over time and like in different places in the world, they've meant different things. They mean different things to every person. They can mean or they've meant protection is one word that you were using earlier. Often they can also be used for seduction. They can be rites of passage. They can be so many different things. What's your sense of what tattoos are for your clientele right now in 2025?
I feel like my clientele is very into honestly everything that I've been putting out, which is a lot of traditional tattoos. Um, I would say like the color palette is we can go a couple different ways, bright, bold, beautiful, strong, or a little bit more muted, a little bit more like shy, reserved, lover. But yeah, that's kind of like where people are at is, and I still get like, the everyday people that don't get traditional tattoos. I get a lot of people that want just birth flowers or like fine line little moons of the star pattern of a specific day, or um, even like names, dates, things that are important to people. I feel like my clientele, honestly, pretty is a good array of all different kinds of people. I have old people that are going through weird changes in their lives that like want to find themselves again, or I have like the young um, fresh college student that's ready to get their first tattoo, that's really excited to be tattooed. Um, I can get a 75-year-old grandma in getting her first tattoo, or even like the same age as me, 26 year old trying to get tattooed, and they want a cool tattoo that I think is cool. Um, so it really depends. It varies every day. I don't really turn away anybody, and nobody's really asked me for anything like bad. So if I have to turn somebody away, it's because I don't feel like I'm a tattooer for you. I feel like there's somebody better out there. But
You said that you like each of your tattoos to be better than the last. What goes on behind the scenes for that to happen?
a lot. I'm constantly drawing. I have to get my tattoos critiqued by other tattooers who are better than me, obviously. Because I'm not the best tattooer out there. There are people who are better at this craft than I am, and I need to be able to see what I can improve on in my tattoos. So I try to study the tattoos that I do, even if I don't like them, because that does happen every now and then. I'm never gonna tell somebody I don't like their tattoo, but I'm an artist. I'm not gonna like everything I put out, which is, that sucks. But as an artist, you have to be okay with that. Sometimes that's some people just want what they want, and that's that. I can't convince people to do what I want because it's not my choice. It's at the end of the day, it's their choice. So. Yeah.
Every year you host a an event where you offer people some free semicolon tattoos to, I imagine, to honor your first tattoo, that experience that was so uplifting for you. How did you create this event and what has it become over time?
I always knew that I wanted to give free semicolon tattoos. Just because I know what getting my first tattoo felt like for me. And it probably isn't somebody's first tattoo. Maybe it is, but most of the time, it's not their first tattoo when they do end up getting a semicolon. But I remember when I got mine and how I felt and how powerful it was. I wanted to be able to have people feel that same kind of power. And it was honestly a chance to share my story with other people, not necessarily in a way that was like hey, everybody, look at me, look at me. I need you to know that this happened to me, and now I'm so much better now that that happened, and my life is great, and blah blah blah. Because I don't want that. I want it to be more of an intimate thing that I can share with people who have felt how I had once felt. Because the person that's coming to get a semicolon, they typically know what it means. I feel like I do my best to educate people on what it means before it happens, before the event happens, rather. But it started when I first learned how to tattoo. I wasn't even tattooing. Well, maybe I was tattooing for 1 year. Yes, it was my 1 year tattoo anniversary, and I had asked my mentors at the time, "Hey, I really want to raise money for a nonprofit. Can I do this thing?" And they both were like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. We don't care." And we had done as a shop other events raising money for nonprofits. Like we raised money for Isabella's Closet, which is a nonprofit in Akron that I believe gives back to people that have just gotten out of jail and that are starting their life over again, which was really awesome. We were able to raise a lot of, you would have to donate like clothes and toys and food and stuff for to get a tattoo in order for that. But yeah, so it started very, very early on in my career, and I just continued it every year. This past year, so for my 3-year anniversary, I did that was like my best year yet for the semicolons. I think I raised I think it was maybe $1,500 with just myself, which was awesome. But I had little goodie bags, and inside the goodie bags were just like some candy. And then I wrote everybody a note that got tattooed, just explaining why I'm doing this and why it's important to me. And I really feel like I've had a lot of returning clients because they read my story and they were like, "Oh my God, I had no idea this happened to you. I just thought you were doing like something nice." And like, I don't, not everybody needs to know that what happened to me because it's really neither here nor there. But I just want everybody to feel that that does come into my presence, that they are welcome and that they do belong and that I want them there and that their lives are worth living because I'm proof of it.
They don't need to know, you're right, but knowing something about the artists that we connect with, whether we're buying a ring from them or a painting or getting a tattoo from them, you're right that they carry you with them for the rest of their lives. And I speak for myself in saying that I generally will acquire or bring into my life artwork that I, with whose artist I connect, right? So
Hmm.
knowing their story or at least knowing their vibe, their energy is important. You don't need to know everything about them, but you do
Right,
need
right,
to get a sense of like who they are, what they stand for, what sort of aura they carry around them.
right, right.
Um, and yours is so valuable. It cares. It takes things seriously, but also with love, is my sense of your aura. I was telling you earlier that I've been nerding out or on tattoo history and we don't have to talk about it, but I loved the etymology of tattoo. The word means to carry your spirit on your skin, which I would love to just leave there as we close out the conversation. I love the spirit you carry on your skin, and I'm certain that the people you work with also love the spirit that you help them carry on their skin. So thank you for the work you do. I think it's a blossoming career, a blooming one for the years to come. I'm excited where you'll take it.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for being here. If this conversation resonated with you, consider reviewing Therapy for the World or sharing the link with someone who might appreciate it. Until next time, speak with care and listen deeply.